maybe not Priest, maybe not Face Hunter, but just making sure you have resources is a very important thing. I think if you see Octobot, you're 100% keeping the Shroud because they work together so well. Maybe if you're on the play with nothing else to do, you can start to wonder. But the Shroud's in the opener for
there we go.
So it's great to see your question answered on the spot, Derek. The lack of Kazakus, I feel, makes the matchup maybe one layer simpler because you can't go for what we saw from Blythe yesterday versus Druid of just take the Kazakus for a one-cost buff golem, buff your board repeatedly. That can be a very powerful thing to do. But it's still quite intricate in the ways that your field contact turns respond to each other, because oftentimes the best response to one is the other, and both players are keeping the Shroud.
And the obvious thing to mention here for TIZS, we haven't seen him so far this week, so we're unsure exactly how his games went. I'm going to guess pretty good, given that he's 2-0. For GivePLZ, after yesterday, this is his chance at redemption. He just needs to make sure that we're not seeing those blunders again, make sure his mental game is in check. And given that I believe on his t-shirt, it had a picture of 3 thumbs up and a slogan saying, "You are so cool," he's at least, making himself feel a bit better, making himself feel like the man, which I think is exactly what you have to do. You got to believe in yourself.
And already, right off the bat, Neophytes on curve, each of them denying the Shroud of Concealment for TIZS being able to coin it out and for GivePLZ playing it. But GivePLZ does end up ahead here because he had the Aug Merchant and the Dagger Swing. It's totally fine to use Guardian Aug Merchant here. The first one, no-brainer. You have so much redundancy later on. A lot of times, I've ended up using the second before the combo as well because it's kind of transformed into a board matchup. But again, we'll see if that's going to be the pan out for this one. TIZS, with the early Secret Passage, respecting the early board even though he had access to Shroud of Concealment, realizing that tempo is the thing here. Every proc of minion damage going face means less garrots needed to actually end the game.
Yeah, he had a lot of good draws there, right? Like the Broom obviously helps him to clear Brain Freeze, Prize Plunderer. Even the Org Merchants can be used just to mop up some of the damage. Or Pen Flingers, as he is running as well. Gets himself a premium couple of cards off of the Shroud of Concealment. That is exactly what you are looking to do in this matchup. Of course, as we said, because Octobot plus the Field Contact provides you with both combo potential and a lot of immediate tempo as well, as we were saying, as the 2 facets of the matchup.
Strangely though, you kind of wished he had seen at least the Octobot off of the second Shroud, because this is a matchup where the stealth you get off the Shroud is very, very useful. You can preload an Octobot onto the board. They just cannot interact with it. Have that 2 mana banked, and then spend the next turn popping off immediately rather than spending a whole turn to set up the pop-off, which is what GivePLZ has done here. Stepping the Octobot, I think, shows that he's all on board for a max tempo game plan, and I think it makes a lot of sense because his hand is double field contact, right? So 1 turn of contact pop-off. With all the cards he draws, he then plays the second Octobot and discounts those cards, and then goes off yet again with the second field contact. It's looking pretty strong. Currently, it's not that many cards he draws off of the first field contact, but if TIZS plays any minions, it suddenly gets to be even more because the Brain Freeze will happily target something.
So obviously considering whether he should go with Octobot, maybe with or without the Org Merchant. But I think given that it costs 0 mana, the tempo that is afforded to you by playing a 1-4 is just simply not worth it. Interesting decision here for TIZS, where he takes a slightly higher tempo route, right? Like, he could have taken the very greedy route of playing Shroud and then proccing his Octobot to actually discount the cards he drew to get a more powerful field of contact turn. But instead, he's using his mana pretty efficiently here. I think realizing, again, that balance that we keep talking about. You can't just keep drawing cards and ignoring board for the entire game, because eventually something like this is going to happen, and you do need a response.
Yeah, it'd have been a full turn slower if he had gone Shroud into Octobot proc, right? Because he didn't have the mana to do it all last turn. So I much prefer the approach from TIZS. However, GivePLZ going off on an empty board usually means you have to end up using Prize Plunderers, Aug Merchants on your own minions, and it doesn't quite feel so efficient because you lose a lot of your responsive resources. But the First Flame can help mitigate that. He takes Devolving instead. That's pretty interesting. maybe respecting the possibility of a stealth minion. Oh wait, he's played 2 shrouds. I don't know. I don't really like the devolving.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that I think the rigged fair game was bait. I think he has plenty enough card draw to close out this game. I guess devolving is just easier to dump. Like, he might be saying, I don't want any of these cards in all honesty. I just want to make sure I can play both my secret passages and not end up overdrawing.
True. TIZS, though, he gets the responsive field contact turn, which is at least enough cards or more than what GivePLZ has played, and he's getting deeper through to the deck with the second Octobot in hand. So I'm inclined to say TIZS is in the lead here, but GivePLZ will be able to go for second Octobot first, which second field contact first, which means that he can potentially get the combo together. But it really depends on whether he can survive this board state from TIZS, because he did have to use reactive tools to get the first pop-off turn, whereas TIZS used his reactive tools to actually win himself a board.
And I mean, just look at this first flame that TIZS had that turned out to be pretty good, and the fact that GivePLZ, I think as you predicted, this devolving missile is looking a lot less valuable than a first flame would be here in order to clear up the contact and the Foxy fraud. TIZS going here with the secret passage, I think pretty much just to dump a card from hand, which does make a good amount of sense because he is very realistically going for the combo next turn.
Possibly, yeah. I think with the zero-cost Octobot, it can happen, but that means that GivePLZ has to win this turn. We get so far ahead on board and maybe play Neophytes at the end of it that he delays TIZZ's combo. I think each player still has 1 Neophyte left apiece, which can be a very big deal. If they have gone all in on combo and they're showing face-up that they have it for next turn, if you Neophyte, you can shut that down and maybe even preserve your board. Broomstick coming in clutch here as well to clear everything.
Right, and now that he's drawn the Org Merchant, this may be able to happen. He needs to draw that right now to be able to play with the Garots. But it looks like he may be not doing so. Otherwise, you would play the Prize Plunderer afterwards to draw the bleeds after you've given spell damage.
I don't think the mana's there without another Octobot, right? Because he has to draw 5 cards with like 2 mana left or something.
Yeah, I mean, I was wondering if you try and just hope to draw the bleeds off the top, because, you know, you can try and wait another turn, but this is scary. Your opponent just steps an Octobot. They're going to have 7 cards left in deck. They dumped a secret passage just to get rid of hand space. Like, they're clearly gearing up for something.
It is super scary, but the failsafe is he played a Neophyte, right? Or did it stay in hand? Oh, it did stay in hand.
Yeah, he didn't play a Neophyte.
Okay, I thought he played the Neophyte. Then I would have been on board with this turn, but now, I think TIZS has the opportunity to get lethal. It's like Contact, Octobot, Org Merchant. Sure, you can Foxy Swindle first.
Yeah, it's really just whether or not he has all the cards in deck that he needs in the Org Merchant, which there we go.
Is step left in the deck. Yeah, he gets
perfect. Right on cue. Step it, play it. It's just lethal. Well over.
Yeah, well over. Second Merchant, you're absolutely right. There you have it. TIZS was the second to go off with Contact, but he went bigger is the difference. I thought that GivePLZ maybe had a way to buy himself more time with the Neophyte. I'd have to look at over again if you know there's Octobot, would the Neophyte have actually stopped this? I'm inclined to say maybe.
Yeah.
But this was just very cleanly done from TIZS. Both players, I think, recognize that stepping Octobot is the main way to go in this matchup. You might think sometimes stepping Field Contact is better. It's definitely not a matchup where you need to save a step for Org Merchant because you have well enough damage to get there, even if you somehow don't deal any damage with your board. But it did turn out to be a combo finisher here rather than a complete board battle because both players did have strong enough Field Contact turns to trade away the board.
Still just trying to think what could have been done differently there for GivePLZ. Like, obviously that last turn is a real question mark. You could argue he should have just tried to go for it there and hope to draw all the bleeds, hope to draw the Shadow Step to replay the Orc Merchant, and I think probably he should have done. But I'm wondering about the turns setting up for that. That is where, you know, the movement under the water really occurs, that you can then influence the direction that you're moving in the matchup. Because using Octobot very, very aggressively here at the start, yeah, probably in order to increase the amount of card draw he's got going. It's just about managing his hand space where I think things got a little bit messy.
Yeah, I think GivePLZ maybe had a turn earlier to also just dump one of the secret passages the way that TIZS went for, although maybe they just went to 0 at this point. I'm unsure. But for me, if you're not going for the not guaranteed lethal, like as you said, just putting the bleeds in the deck even if you're not guaranteed to draw all of them at once because you don't get to the bottom, then I think you should at least allocate some resources for disruption, like play a Neophyte,
Sure.
because I think he would have had the mana to get there the next turn as long as he lived, even if he had maybe 5 cards left in deck instead of 3.
I agree. Did feel like a little bit of a weird one from GivePLZ, but that does mean that in the mirror between the rogues, TIZS does come out on top. I'm trying to figure out quickly how important I think that is. Like, I'm going to say that the rogues are fairly likely to get a win at some point in this matchup. Against Mage, I think it's a reasonable matchup. Against either version of Demon Hunter, I think you're slightly in the lead as the Garrote Rogue, just because you're a little bit quicker than the OTK Demon Hunter most of the time. And the Brutes have to come down very early, I think, for them to be able to aggro you out of the game against the Brute Demon Hunter. So while it's a nice win for TIZS, I don't think he's won with the real tough decks yet, as Mage versus Demon Hunter is going to be up next. A matchup that, in all honesty, I haven't actually seen all too much, right? With GivePLZ playing the Brute Demon Hunter, does this kind of function like as a very rough facsimile Mage versus an aggro deck where they just get swarmed down and can't really interact in time? Or are the Brutes not quite quick enough, consistent enough to get there?
I honestly would be more inclined to compare it to Mage versus Handlock, actually, where the threats are much bigger, but they come down a little bit later. I still don't know what the average turn Brutes hit the board is. Maybe it's a bit earlier than Flesh Giants, but they're also a bit smaller than Flesh Giants. But the thing is, you can consistently rely on Brute Demon Hunter doing nothing in terms of board development from turn 1 to 3, or at best it's a Spirit Jailer, which is the size of minion where it's just better for the mage that your opponent played a minion. So that means that the mage has a lot of time to go for their combo. They're not under any pressure. They can definitely go for Incanter's Flow without any hesitation, and they can go for a relatively early Varden. The difference is that there is way more burst in the Brute Demon Hunter compared to Handlock in the form of Lion's Frenzy, which mage can't really protect against beyond playing one Ice Barrier. So if any wave of Brutes gets to attack even once, then the mage has to be a little bit worried, I find. But before that happens, they are generally quite safe. Might not have targets for Brain Freezes and stuff, but that's alright. There's Ice Barrier for TIZS in the opener.
There is the Ice Barrier for TIZS. There's a way to proc most of his spells here. Obviously, the first flame could be a little bit tricky. But again, once those big Brutes come down, it almost propels TIZS quicker towards his game plan, because then the Brain Freeze and the first flame can come down. Obviously, this all gets shaken up once the Glide comes down, which I do anticipate will be on turn 4 for GivePLZ.
Glide's another factor that I didn't mention at the beginning. It can be very painful for the mage if they've built up a hand that is, say, just missing a frost spell, so they're forced to keep drawing to find it, and then everything gets glided back. That can be painful. But TIZS doesn't have one of those hands, right? He had the flow into Ice Barrier, which makes the curve a lot smoother. It means he's not heavily punished by Glide, and it means that he is just that much faster on the way to quest completion.
It does feel bad to try and shuffle back cards into your opponent's deck when you know they're going to draw all cheaper ones on the following turn. I mean, I still think you have to do it. This hand is not doing anything right now. Like, even the acrobatics doesn't complete your quest. You need to start moving, or you're going to lose.
He can play the non-outcast Glide if he'd rather, like, say that his hand right now is worse than a random 4-card hand, which honestly you can have zero read on that. You know the new hand will be cheaper, but then maybe they were holding on to something that they wanted to complete the quest with the opening hand. It's close. GivePLZ just gonna go for the Outcast Glide instead. Enhanced is a second flow. Uh-oh.
Yeah. I don't know if I did like that. Like, I honestly wasn't even considering your play because I'm a dum-dum. But I think now that I see it, like, why would you give them an equal-sized hand that's just cheaper? You have no read.
Yeah, I honestly don't know. Oh,
Fireball.
Fireball picked up.
Oh, yeah.
Very nice. Very nice. Quest 2 pretty easily completed here for GivePLZ just with acrobatics, I think, and Sigil Runner. Or the stuff off of the acrobatics. Yeah, you can trade and play Sigil Runner to get Quest 2 done.
Still looking for Brute. Yeah, I don't know if it's necessarily playable on this turn. Maybe if it was discounted there, given that 4 cards were drawn. Plus a discount. You could have played 1 plus the philosophy. But not available here, obviously, so GivePLZ is going to be setting up most likely for just another glide on the following turn. Could even get it into the outcast position, right, with Illidari studies on the next turn, which is pretty good once again.
And I love that he holds on to it, right? Because if you don't play the Illidari studies, you have the option of gliding for outcast or non-outcast. It really depends on what type of play TIZS makes this turn. Is he going to draw a bunch and try to gather resources, or is he going to dump cards?
And here it is, card draw coming through for TIZS. He's seen one glide. He's obviously not anticipating the other in outcast position. And so I think quite rightly trying to turbo through his deck. Although you... Whether or not you should play a flurry here on this minion is actually a pretty interesting question.
Yeah, well, he does have access to Brain Freeze instead as a
Right.
Honestly, I was wondering whether the turn was just Fireball because he needed fire for this stage of the spell, of the quest. But he ends up with even cheaper options after that first AI. I forgot, 2 flows have been played, so absolutely take your draw. You're still going to be able to play other things. Goes for the Flurry just so he can also fit in First Flame. Quest 2 done. Varden probably going to be in hand by next turn. I wonder if GivePLZ ever thinks he can get away with gliding Varden back, but I don't think TIZS will put himself in a position where he completes quest and doesn't play Varden immediately on the same turn.
Yeah, You're probably correct here, yeah. And I think for GivePLZ, his best chance of winning the game isn't to hope his opponent blunders and then shuffles back in the Varden. I think realistically, it's to go for his own game plan. It's to proactively try and find those brutes as quick as he can and put on some pressure.
Interesting that he dumps a philosophy here.
Right.
Because like he didn't want to like waste a discount on the Illidari studies, but I figured you weren't gonna play philosophy one way or another. You're gonna play glide anyway. So that's just potentially -1 brute in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, my argument was going to be it's so that you don't draw a philosophy, but you just draw another spirit jailer. Like, it doesn't actually help with the quality of your draw. So I do agree. I find that a little perplexing.
But I do like the decision to glide TIZZ's hand there. Like, you know he's probably built up enough cards to proc the Varden. By giving him 4 cards, he either floats mana or doesn't get to play Varden this turn a lot of the time.
So it's just Frost and Flame that's necessary now? Oh, sorry, all 3. Okay, so this 2 mana Cram Session does make a good amount of sense. Fireball Face as well. I think that's probably fine. And the next turn, if anything's played, or if you draw any way to generate a minion, complete the quest, play Varden, probably just play Cram Session as well on the same turn.
True, especially since he's seen the 2 natural glides already. We did see GivePLZ discover a 3rd, which is still in his deck, so maybe that's his way back into this. But TIZS is absolutely gonna fire off here. He's honestly not that far from killing GivePLZ. Like, this turn, right? He's down to 50.
True. I think it's possible.
Brain Freeze Varden, or like Flurry Varden, Cram Session, just hit some Ignites.
Yeah, Ignites,
okay.
Ruined Orb. His deck costs, aside from the cards that were shuffled back in and he drew again, his deck costs 0 because he's played 3 Incantus Flows this game. It's insane.
That's true. Speedrun Mage victory coming soon. I'd honestly like to see it just for the spectacle of it. 2 mana, 15 damage, easy. Oh.
Yeah, this should be easy.
Yes. Maybe. Oh, okay. Maybe not. Maybe not.
Yeah, not quite. Yeah, no extra card draw. Okay. The make your opponent break their desk any % speedrun is the world record is not gonna be broken today.
Still a pretty good split though, I think. Board is frozen. He's winning on board versus Brute Demon Hunter.
It's pretty insane.
Ring water, I guess. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think I like Ruined Orb. Like, it gets you damage, another discover, you can still hit card draw off it.
I was thinking the Spring Water is just always going to go off because he drew the 2-1 Thieves already, but it's just very minute differences. He is winning so hard right now. GivePLZ, is there any Miracle Lion's Frenzy? I don't think it could possibly get up to 28 even with this guy.
Yeah, I literally don't think there are enough cards in deck because this is the final glide, right? He's already played 2 so far this game. Yeah, I just don't think there's lethal available, even if you could stack your cards in any order.
They will never catch me.
Well, we'll see. There's Ign as well. So 25 damage Lion's Frenzy. There's more fragments in the deck. Yeah, there's just still not enough, though. It's only 6. Wait, he drew 4 at the beginning.
Okay, if you could stack your deck in the perfect order, maybe, but this is not that order. GivePLZ losing with the Brute Demon Hunter here, which means that TIZS goes up 2 games to 0, looking very comfortable indeed so far. His mage gameplay, I think, again, not especially complicated, but overall, he showed good balance there, because you compared the Brute Demon Hunter matchup to Handlock, which I think is quite an apt comparison, but the difference lies in how greedy you have to be with your freezes. Against Handlock, I think you very possibly wouldn't have played the Flurry there. You would have saved it to freeze these big minions so that the Battlegrounds Battlemaster can't kill. However, against Demon Hunter, when you have 2 Flurries and a Brain Freeze in hand, absolutely, you just turbo out your quest and try and kill them.
Yeah, of course, it's an imperfect comparison. And
yes,
this Handlock didn't draw their Giants, meaning this Brute Demon Hunter didn't draw their Brutes until very late. But yeah, we can question, I guess, a couple of things from GivePLZ, the use of the first glide. I am honestly unsure if you're gonna see 4 random cards discounted is better to give your opponent rather than a hand that they might have been maneuvering to get their quest completed right away, even though it's more expensive on average. It's kind of close, but probably a bad matchup, all things considered, for the Brute. But now, the other Demon Hunter is going to come out to play. It's the old Quest OTK Demon Hunter, another deck that's pretty heavily reliant on Kurtrus, but I feel it gets there in a much more predictable fashion. It's usually turn 4 Quest 1, turn 5 Quest 2, turn 6 Quest 3, turn 7 play Kurt. Oh, sorry, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 4, 5, 6, 7, depending on what hand you get.
Yes, indeed. If you get the good stuff, it's very often Kurtrus on 6. And I think you're absolutely right. It's more consistent, but lower power ceiling, right? Like, you're not going to be playing a bunch of 6/7 taunts on turn 2, as is sometimes possible, or turn 3, more likely, in the Brute Demon Hunter. But I think it has the lower power overall, but against the likes of aggro decks, that's really where this deck shines. Like, OTK Demon Hunter was always an anti-aggro deck, realistically. Like, that's where its truly incredible matchups showed themselves. Against the really slow control decks, sometimes, yeah, you know, if they didn't have a Lucia, you could just get a guaranteed combo. But Face Hunter back in the day, Elemental Shaman, whatever the aggro decks pre-expansion were, they just didn't beat OTK Demon Hunter. And I think very much the same holds true now, because you just dumpster Face Hunter, you dumpster aggro Shadow Priest as well, with your lifesteal and removal.
Yeah, the change to Il'gynoth did not affect those matchups whatsoever. It just meant that they could get the death blow a little bit later, but probably by then the Demon Hunter has exhausted all your resources anyway. In this matchup, though, it's not a bona fide aggro that it's facing in the Brute Demon Hunter, because it's not swarming the board in 1, and it's not going wide. The most they can play is, I guess, 4 Brutes in a turn if you are very, very lucky, but that should happen on average at least turn 4, turn 5. That's already being pretty generous. And then the minions that they do play are out of range of the common removals you would see from the OTK Demon Hunter. So if GivePLZ does manage to put a big Brute board, it's not just going to take the Arcanist Immolation Aura, the 7 health breakpoint is too much to deal with that. And so if they take 1 turn to attack and TIZS doesn't have the healing to go after it, then he could be in some trouble.
I like TIZ's approach as well, starting with the Illidari Studies as opposed to the quest. It's often a little bit dubious when you go for Illidari Studies as the final mana on your turn, no matter what turn it may be, because you obviously can't then play whatever you've outcasted, unless it's exactly Sigil Runner. But in this instance, because he's going to be dumping the left-hand side of his hand so quickly, if he gets either Sigil Runner or Spectral Sight, the premier card draw options, you can very easily shift them over to the left and then card draw with them then.
Yeah, very clean. This is one of those versions of Demon Hunter where you're pretty happy to sometimes play Studies on one if the hand allows to get a potential Skull all the way to the left. But Skull is not necessary anymore because you are relying on the quest instead to give you incremental but more consistent discounts.
Oh, look at this hand for TIZS. This is bananas.
That's super fast. I mean, it's quest 2 just the Spectral Sight, and he has so much mana spare as well. I don't think it's to the point where he can finish quest 3 this turn as well.
No, yeah.
But it's... Now, normally I would be interested in Tempo Moargs versus Brute Demon Hunter, but a lot of the new OTK DH lists are cutting a philosophy. Let me check if TIZS has done the same. Yeah, he's only running the one philosophy, so I feel you can probably be less liberal with the Moargs these days.
Yeah, I'm trying to wonder as well if there's ever... well, what the value is in saving these, right? Because obviously you're still going for the Kurtrus game plan, but if you're not going to play... you could get away with not playing Glide this game, right? Not shuffling these back into your deck and then redrawing them. In which case, a 1-mana Artificer, a 1-mana Arcanist is huge. If you couple that with a 4-mana Il'gynoth post-Kurtrus, that's just lethal, almost guaranteed on turn 7 or 8, most likely.
Yeah. Although, I guess around that point, GivePLZ has already either won the game or fizzled out.
True.
My point is that as the OTK Demon Hunter, you shouldn't have to rely on winning the game with the OTK here. You win the game by removing the Brutes and not dying to the Lion's Frenzy, and then by that point, you win the board with Moargs, or you can just tempo Il'gynoth and get there one way or another. But for now, GivePLZ is just going to play a philosophy to keep the acrobatics going, and he lands the Brute first stage on line. 2 6/7s. TIZS with no removal spells in hand. Just a 2-turn clock right now.
Absolutely is. It's going to demand a robust response from TIZS on this turn. He's got a lot of the tools he needs with both Moarg and Arcanist. Now that is, what, 6 damage AoE, which is obviously just shy of being able to clear both of them. But it means he's certainly not dying anytime soon.
Yeah, and with the weapon swing, he can clear 1 immediately.
Yeah.
And just be... like have 3 minions on board, which GivePLZ probably can't clear. So at least one of them will be able to trade into the 6/1 Brute. It's decent, but he doesn't have to do it right now, right? Because he could go for a bigger clear next turn. Okay, looks like he's just gonna get the full clear right now. This is still good because he lands the tempo minions I was talking about.
Yeah. Yes. There's no way you could get an extra quest completion in. I was wondering if you can ever get away with like completing the quest, reducing a card and then going for it, but none of the relevant cards were discounted, which is still fine. With Sigil Runner, Double Jump, and Acrobatics, he's guaranteed quest completion on the following turn, so it's still looking very good for TIZS as GivePLZ's game plan has slowed down a lot.
Yeah, it's already the first wave gone. I guess he still has the 1 natural Brute, but no more philosophies, right? He had to dump 1 to get the acrobatics going. So as far as the Brute game plan, it's just a 6/7, which is very small of a threat for OTK Demon Hunter to have to worry about. So it's more about chaining Lion's Frenzy hits for GivePLZ now, which is also kind of a flimsy game plan because TIZS can heal up out of range. Maybe it's harder with 1 Fellscream Blast use, but shouldn't underestimate the healing in this deck whatsoever. Okay. So Kurtrus for, or sorry, next quest done. Oh, isn't this just Acrobat? Oh, I guess he's gonna trade the pen instead. Sure.
I think I like this just because it makes use of the Sigil Runner when it's in the outcast position, which is fairly valuable.
Yeah, I like that. And then the acrobatics can possibly get 4 draws next turn instead of
True.
Just 2, so.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Okay. GivePLZ first to land Kurtrus, not in any danger of dying the very next turn, but can he set up a 2-turn lethal win con? He has his own glide. But the Kayn is making it pretty awkward to outcast the Glide. Maybe he just plays it naturally next turn.
Yeah, that is what I was going to suggest at that point. Again, a little bit awkward, wants to outcast this Spectral Sight, but I think you're right. You probably just start with Glide. I mean, having these card draw effects in hand, but not playing them is fine because you shuffle them back into your deck and they're fantastic cards to draw. And then you just pray by some miracle that you can do 30 damage in one turn. I don't think I've ever seen a 30 damage Lion's Frenzy, or I don't know, maybe you can get there doing 30 over 2.
Yeah. Oh, the played Guild Trader. TIZS is just going for board control here rather than getting his Kurtrus. You know what? I kind of like it because GivePLZ, if he saw the Kurt go into TIZS' hand, he could have played the Glide for Outcast and had the double benefit of getting closer to his Lion's Frenzy and just delaying TIZS' game plan by potentially putting their Kurt back.
Okay, 2 mana Glide. I guess that's just a mana's discount, so we're going to take that. You don't really care about what's in your opponent's hand at this point, to be honest.
So he doesn't strictly need the 30. The 30 plays around healing, but TIZS is on 4 cards, right? And with an I-Beam and a Fell Scream used, he might not be able to heal all the way back up to 30. So basically just finding the Lion's Frenzy is step 1 here, and then you figure out how to do the rest later on.
Okay, so start by trading, correct, and then Frenzy breaks the weapon, draw the Peddler, trade it again, hope for some card draw. There it is, 13 damage already, plus the Fury.
Is he supposed to fit in the Jailers to get the fragments? Okay.
I think so, yeah. Just play the other Jailer. He just remembered you can play that. Sure. Let's get some more card draw.
Wait, if he gets to the bottom of his deck, that's plus 11 and then the Fury. The other Fury, does that ever get... I don't think it's possible, but maybe.
It's a lot of damage.
It is a lot.
Oh, it stops here, though.
Wait, it's another Glide.
Oh, no.
It's another Glide. It's another Glide, but is there time? Okay, I think this gets to 27, because GivePLZ doesn't have time.
But the soul fragments?
Oh, the fragments, right. Is it 29?
The Fury!
Oh,
he could have played Fury!
Oh, it was
That was lethal!
Time. If he had time, it was lethal!
Oh!
But there wasn't any time! But now, can TIZS even heal out of this? He can't heal right now. He can play Acro, but it means he can't play Kurtrus. Okay. For TIZS, 1 Fell Scream still left.
Right.
I-Beam gone, I think.
You just need Fell Scream. That's it. You heal for 1 billion with Fell Scream.
But the only way he keeps drawing is by blowing up this board with the Immolation Aura.
You just play the other Acro. That's fine. Just go with the other one.
Okay.
2 draws. 2 draws.
For the Fell Scream, it's not there.
He can't play I-Beam off of the Illidari studies?
No. It's just not there. That's it. Brute wins.
No way. I thought that was over. 28 damage off of the Lion's Frenzy. It would have been lethal if he just had time as well, but it just gets there. What a game.
I'm a non-believer, Dart. I mean, GivePLZ didn't get to do it. I think he went nearly as fast as he possibly could. So it's maybe one of those Garrote Rogue situations where you just do what you can and you hope that there's times one of those D6 situations.
Yeah.
It's lethal if you're Gabby or Alutemu, apparently. But it was the best GivePLZ could have gone for, I believe, with the APM that did end up happening. And fair enough, getting the Glide in for Outcast meant that TIZS had only 4 cards, an even smaller chance of having the Fell Scream Blast. And the heal wasn't there, so GivePLZ just gets it.
Yeah, and once again, like while we had those blunders from GivePLZ yesterday, it was a missed lethal, technically, but I think he did the right thing just by swinging face there at the end and praying that it was lethal, or praying that 28 would be enough. Because if you wait for the, the potential for Fury and you miss it and you miss 29 damage, you've just lost on the spot. Whereas this was, it was a gamble. He wasn't guaranteed to win the game. As we said, TIZS had 5 draws with the natural and the 2 acrobatics to draw the Fell Scream Blast. He missed it. It was in the bottom 4. It's brutal, but It's a brutal matchup, as they say, as GivePLZ now gets to go on the Quest Mage once again up against that OTK Demon Hunter from TIZS. And it's another matchup where we just have to ask, for the most part, who does it quicker?
The mage, but the mage generally can't deal 30 to 0 all at once, and the Demon Hunter does have healing, but as we saw a while ago, the healing is not unlimited, and it's not guaranteed to be in hand, and it's kind of dependent on there being minions on board, which is 3 conditions that's pretty difficult to fulfill. The Demon Hunter will at least have the benefit of being able to delay the mage on frost spells usually, because they're not going to be playing minions in the early game, and they can still complete quests just by trading, drawing off sigil, etc., etc. But generally, the curve, as we said, is quest 1 turn 3, and then 4 or 5, and then Kurtrus on 6. And then it's still a question mark whether or not you're able to get Il'gynoth on 7 or 8, right? It depends on whether you're able to glide it back if it's in your opening hand, or find it at the bottom of the deck. And I think that's a little bit too much wiggle room for the mage to have.
Well, we shall have to see. TIZS gets himself what is, in one respect, not a terrible hand. Any hand with Sigil of Alacrity is very, very nice. But as I was saying, you know, the whole point of this version of the deck is to turbo out Kurtrus as quick as you humanly can. And outside of the Sigil of Alacrity, it doesn't do that. Not one iota, as this is just a combo-oriented hand, way quicker than you would want all that.
Yeah, it's Il'gynoth on the left as well, making it such that if he ever gets studies or a spectral sight that he can't immediately outcast, it's going to be extremely awkward. I think it's one of those hands where you look for the glide that's naturally run in TIZS' deck, maybe play it even before your Kurtrus turn, or try to generate one off of the Illidari studies. Also, the Sigil Runner could very likely be a liability for him, but he has to play it if he wants to try and progress the quest.
It's a good point, actually. I mean, I do think you end up playing it here just because you have the potential chance to hit any card draw effect, basically. And then you carry on by playing your other Sigil.
Okay. But here's the question. Does he go as far as to Fellscream Blast? Okay, he got I-Beam. Never mind. That's an insta I-Beam.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. If he hadn't got I-Beam, though, I wonder if it was worth playing a Fellscream Blast just to deny the target. I'd be inclined to say yes, honestly. You don't need 2 Fellscream to do the combo.
Agreed. It's just so important to disrupt your opponent. Look at this double Brain Freeze in hand. If there was a minion on board, you'd go uncomboed Brain Freeze, comboed Brain Freeze, 2 frost spells played off of 1 minion. So crucial to leave nothing on the board in this matchup.
So that means GivePLZ is waiting on his ice barriers, maybe even Wand Thieves, just to have some target for the Brain Freeze. But in the meantime, TIZS gonna keep going with the acrobatics, I'd have to imagine, and only needs 1 more draw after that to progress to quest 2.
Yeah, he's got a couple of ways he can go about it, right? Obviously, have 2 playable cards that he can use to get the acrobatics secondary effect, or just any card draw effect. I think it's definitely worth it at this point to go with the acro and pray that you can keep progressing that quest as fast as possible.
Oh, interesting.
Wow.
Turn off with the Immolation Aura. I'm not sure if this is so much in respect of the chance of not actually getting playables to complete the quest, but maybe more so a hand space issue for TIZS. If he had to go acro and then play 2 cards that maybe even draw more cards to get the quest done, he maybe would have ended up with a full hand, but I definitely would not have gone for that, but I haven't been playing this new version very often. I'll trust TIZS on that.
Yeah, I mean, again, I have the same reservations because the potential upside of this play, as you said, it's hand space and it's also having more mana to be able to play the cards that you draw. But the problem is that he had Sigil played on the Sigil had just activated on that turn, so he only needed to draw 1 card. Whereas this play, yes, you have an extra mana available, but you have to draw 2 cards now. It becomes a little bit more in TIZS' favor when you consider that to proc the acrobatics effect draws 2 cards anyway. But I still definitely wouldn't have gone about it the way that TIZS did. It's a little interesting.
Well, okay. Gets to play those trade. Oh wait, sorry. The trade does not get the acro even further, but he does get it because he only needed 1 more draw. So the spectral, it's gonna be mediocre discounts for sure. And the bigger problem is not many card draw effects for the next turn on the final quest proc. Although I guess you can do the re-equip and trade 2. That's still 1 guaranteed card draw short of the quest activation, right?
Yeah, you just pray that you get the rest done. Swing, trade. Yeah. You need a little bit extra, but with 2 tradable cards, I think you're relatively likely to find it.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Well, GivePLZ still stuck on quest 1. I was saying Mage does this faster on average, but this has been a 0 ice barrier, 0/1 thief hand, and that's a glide.
Oh man, that's a tough call. It probably is just glide. No, it's good. Yeah, absolutely. But the things that are holding me back from being ecstatic about this glide is your opponent clearly has a bit of a dead hand. You don't necessarily want to give them a hand that maybe works better, although with 4 cards instead of 8, maybe that's a slightly erroneous assumption. And also, because you kind of want to save this for post-Kurtrus, like, I guess completing the Kurtrus, then drawing your cards afterwards is still fine.
Yeah, I mean, it does put the Il'gynoth back. I think that's number 1 priority. And it's not that likely you immediately get the Il'gynoth back in your 4-card hand. So as long as Il'gynoth can be discounted, even if you get some combo pieces with the rest of the hand, I think it's fine. The swing at the end here, I'm not necessarily sure of, though.
I think it's fine, right? It doesn't, like, discounting the trader, the peddler, sorry, doesn't matter, and you can just go Kurtrus trade next turn. I think it's fine. I mean, it's 1 extra card that it's
not discounted.
Exactly. Well, yes, it's that much more likely to be Il'gynoth, I suppose, that you draw.
Yeah.
But I still think getting the damage in with the hero power is worth it.
I mean, if it brought GivePLZ down to 24 instead of 25, I'd say the swing is pretty relevant, but this breakpoint is not any different from 26.
Fair. That's a fair point.
Pleasure doing business.
Anyway, at least GivePLZ got a Frost Spell, and there's a minion that's sticking around so he can do Quest 2 with an Arcane, but he doesn't get the Arcane. Lesson learned, even if the glide is shuffling back a dead hand, is shuffling back like a near full hand, right?
True. Yeah, and I guess if you're going to go Kurtrus in the next couple of turns, like a dead hand very quickly unlocks once there's a bunch of minions played. All right.
Discovers an Arcane here, that's huge. Your entity, okay.
Oh, you're 1 mana off being able to play the Varden alongside it.
And also, Mirror Entity can be abused by Demon Hunter.
True.
Moarg for free, basically, if it's Moarg. But he has to do it, right? You just can't delay.
Oh, please let this happen. If it's Mirror Entity, he plays it, and then Il'gynoth is drawn. That's lethal. With Moarg, copy it, Arcanist, Il'gynoth, Fellscreen Blast, that would be so sick.
Oh, he does it! He'll be off the top, 1 in 13. I know you're hoping for top 5 moments content. I'm just hoping for a good time.
You see right through me.
All right. That's a Sigil Runner.
All right, so start Moarg, obviously, to proc the Mirror Entity. Oh,
he missed! Oh!
It was lethal! It was actually lethal if he started Moarg. That's unbelievable.
It's not strictly wrong, of course, to not
Obviously
Moarg,
not,
of course, because you don't know how far down the Il'gynoth is, and having a Moarg on the board for your opponent can be good for them, but that is hilarious.
That is pretty funny.
He has it next turn. Oh, wait, 2 turns?
2 turns. Yeah, 2 turns off, which is a massive distinction. Like,
true.
Maybe here for GivePLZ, that 1 extra turn is enough to win the game, because TIZS, he's at 13 health. He's been getting pretty low, actually.
That's true. I didn't even notice. And the Fellscream is the only healing card in hand right now. It's gotta be worth using, right?
Oh, you think? I guess.
He doesn't need both. He very likely draws to the bottom of his deck the next couple of turns.
Right.
Like, his deck costs nothing.
A blunder.
Like, double jumps, acrobatics, Tusk Piercer, all the tradables, Spectral Sight, still all there.
Yeah, and then just takes 1 for the heck of it.
Hey, But this is Varden for GivePLZ now, a cleared Kurtrus and a cleared Morg if he wants. But it means Ignite not going face.
Yeah, I mean...
He could ping Ignite face Brain Freeze, but is it worth pinging at this stage?
I mean, I'm wondering how necessary it is to even proc the Brain Freeze. Like, just keep giving yourself maximum mana so you could go like... it's just Frost that's left over, right? So you could go Brain Freeze... Varden Wand Thief, and if you get AI, you can then play that alongside it.
Oh, I want this Morg, Ed. It's so scary.
Fair enough, yeah.
So he is just going to go for the Ignite Brain Freeze. Rather than ping here, he gets to play a Wand Thief. Or rather than retaining an Ignite in hand, he gets to play Wand Thief, which I think makes a lot of sense. He needs card draw more than anything right now. Fair never. Wait, it might go off. But
it might go off,
turns, that's kind of hopeful. Might be dead soon.
Yeah, what were the other actual options that he picked from? I didn't see, it was so quick.
I think it was just Trash Shattering Blast and something else I didn't notice. Oh, this...
Acrobatics, okay. Next turn, Omega Lethal, right? This is just infinite damage now. Surely.
Turn, do you kill the Varden by using a Morg? You can use Morg, Varden, and Immolation Aura.
Ooh, that
yeah, you definitely do it now. Yeah. He can afford to kill the Varden and just have lethal in hand for the next turn as well.
So how are you doing it whilst keeping lethal intact?
So Philosophy, you play one Morg, I-Beam, and Immolation Aura.
Okay, yeah.
And then next turn, I guess this is not lethal in hand. The very next turn, you still need the other Fellscream Blast, but you get there always with the Acrobatics, right?
Yeah, you've got Acrobatics, and then the remaining cards in deck
are tradables.
Yeah, tradables, Tusk Piercer. Okay, yeah, I'm on board. I'm on board.
Yeah, okay. Maximum safety for TIZS. Even if the Varden had lived, GivePLZ had nothing going on here. There's a flurry off the top, no cram sessions to be found. The glide earlier on for like 9 cards was too painful. And I'm going to have to eat my words, Dark. The Demon Hunter did get there in much timelier fashion.
It did, unless we just keep trading back and forth forever. Okay, eventually he can just play them for 0 mana. I don't know, Chia. He's vibing, okay? He's doing what he's got to do. It's going to be lethal no matter what. You can trade here, get the extra spell damage if you need as well. It's a trillion damage here.
Yes, indeed. And by trillion, we mean the crisp 72, not just 36.
True, yeah, if you wanted it. There we go. That's going to be it. TIZS taking the series 3 games to 0. Unfortunately for GivePLZ, doesn't get the redemption he was looking for. His combo lineup just looking a little bit rocky overall over the past couple of days. He got the win against Bank Yugi, of course, in a very messy fashion, as we saw. But TIZS, I think... you know, getting some good draws along the way, but just understanding his style of lineup very, very nicely overall. He played the Demon Hunter very well, I think. His Rogue as well, that mirror at the start was executed very well indeed. Understanding the facets of the matchup very well, and is looking a prime contender heading into the semi-finals tomorrow.
Yeah, I definitely think TIZS has been on point the entire season that we've seen him. It's honestly a shame that we didn't get to see on stream how he went 2-0 in the group stages, because I will say it again, I think TIZS is such an underrated player, especially when he's calm and has had the practice on the meta, which it's definitely showing. He is comfortable with the decks played for this lineup. It was just a clean series, nothing that I would gripe about too hard. Any questions were minor, no strict errors whatsoever, and I'm excited to see maybe the Druid come out to play later on as well, because that did get banned away. It's the Cthulhu Celestial Alignment Druid, another deck where APM can matter quite a bit, and we already see APM nearly claim a victim today. GivePLZ, every time he failed to get an action, still ended up winning his game this weekend, but something tells me it's going to be less forgiving in the semifinals.